So at this point, it has been around 3 weeks since Jada Pinkett Smith dropped her memoir Worthy, and with the amount of sales this book has received, it's left a lot of people questioning whether or not it was a flop, and also questioning whether or not this entire press run, and all of this private information that she's disclosed about herself, her family, and of course Tupac, was really all worth it. This article came out 1 week after the book had dropped, and they were obviously already declaring it a big ol' flop, saying that she was basically a fish out of water with this venture. And they're citing here that her book apparently only sold 2,700 copies within the first week, and that she had been outsold by other memoirs written by the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Britney Spears, who had a huge release with her tell-all book, and even this man, Uncle Jesse, is out here outselling Jada. Shout out one time to the Rippers. In a quote from one of the reviews from her book, she says, "I read mostly biographies, almost never fiction. I watched all episodes of the Red Table Talk, so I was looking forward to this book. There is nothing new here, and it is not even well written. You can skip this book. I applaud the effort in the writing and telling of a personal journey." And I do think that that's one of the biggest problems that Jada is gonna run into when it comes to these book sales, is that during this press run that she's gone on, she's basically divulged all of the juiciest information, which is essentially everything she has to say about Tupac and everything she has to say about Will. It's almost like she left nothing withheld within the pages that would actually make people curious to go and buy. Like when it comes to these other people who outsold her, I had no idea any of them were even releasing a book. And when it comes to her, she was getting millions of impressions on these clips, and obviously it didn't result in like these booming sales. Now what I will say is if she would have came out with this book like right after the whole entanglement scandal, or even right after the slapping, oh, I think she would have easily sold 100,000 first week. But at this point, it's like the ship had sailed and we already know all the information. She recently came out with yet another interview on the BBC, and she actually claims here that the night that Will decided to go up there and slap Chris Rock was the night they actually got back together, okay? That slapping ignited their love.
I knew it was gonna be an intense reaction. And you know, that was the moment that I decided that I was gonna stay by Will's side. You know, it's funny how intense situations can amplify love. It was a pretty difficult time, but it definitely drew us closer. It's crazy how things work.
So I guess Will had gone through the final embarrassment ritual, and she was like, okay, I'll take you back. I mean, it must be a pretty bad feeling to find out that that type of toxicity brings a relationship back together. Just like how I was shocked when I found out I was still paying for a textbook subscription that I signed up for back in 2019 when I was still in college. I wish back then I knew about today's video sponsor, Rocket Money. They're the all-in-one finance platform that helps its users save more and spend less. They do this by helping you manage your subscriptions, customize your budget, and grow your savings all in one place. Personally, through Rocket Money, I found out that I had not only the subscription I talked about earlier, but also a Paramount Plus subscription I got from one of those free 7-day trials that I thought I had canceled 6 months ago. And they go deeper than that. Rocket Money will also monitor your credit and even negotiate your bills for you like your own personal mob boss. So join the 5 million members using Rocket Money today by going to rocketmoney.com/Jamari, or you can click the link in the description to get started for free. That's rocketmoney.com/Jamari to get started for free, and you can also unlock more features with premium. Thank you once again, Rocket Money, for sponsoring today's video. And the reason you cannot call this book a total flop is that within the weeks following that 2,700 sales, she actually accumulated quite a bit more. So these are the best-selling memoirs for this entire year. Obviously, some of these have had a lot longer of a time period to accumulate sales. And if you go down the list, okay, Jada's actually not doing too bad. She's number 8, selling almost 30,000 physical copies. And look, I don't know if Will saw those low numbers she was receiving and went out and bought like 27,000 copies of this book, but I do think it's safe to say at this point that she did not exactly flop, but I'm not sure the divulging of this information like Tupac's alopecia and the continuation of the embarrassment of Will Smith was really worth it. Obviously, when it comes to Britney Spears in her book, you know, she's kind of like a worldwide icon. She sold over 2.4 million copies globally, and I think this is why it sold so well, okay? She says, over the past 15 years, or even at the start of my career, I sat back while people spoke about me and told my story for me. After getting out of my conservationship, I was finally free to tell my story without consequences from the people in charge of my life. Obviously, her whole conservationship was like a big story in the media for quite some time, and with her recently getting out of that and having like this newfound freedom where she's doing all this crazy shit on Instagram, it was really the perfect time to strike while the kettle was still hot, and so she basically took advantage of her moments, and it obviously paid off greatly. As you guys can see here, this is the New York Times bestsellers list, and if you go down the list, Jada is really nowhere to be found. And I guess Rick Ross of all people has some serious beef with Jada Pinkett. He actually released a song with the guy who she had the entanglement with, this guy named August, and the song was literally called Entanglement, talking about having an affair with a married woman. Here's what he had to say.
How Jada Pinkett Smith moving, it don't make you want to really be that close with a woman. It'll really make you reconsider ever being married. You talking about so much personal business. What's your credit score? What's your beacon score? We don't believe you was worth 50 million. Now, show it to us, prove it to us. We don't believe this shit. Go home, Will. Go home, Will. They called me Will growing up. Will, you just, come on, Will. Make her go open you a moon pie.
And they also asked him about Jada Pinkett Smith during his recent interview with Rolling Stone, where they questioned what he thought about her recent book tour. And he says, I don't agree with Jada Pinkett. To me, she's psychologically lost and needs some counseling. What are you going to tell us next? When you tell us you haven't been together in 6 years, you haven't had sex in this many years, you don't have a prenuptial agreement. Okay, what's next? I heard the book flopped because she's already told us everything. No one cares. Sometimes as celebrities, you can get out of touch. Will Smith isn't the same Will Smith as he was 20 years ago. Come on, Jada. Chill out, baby. You were in the movie Set It Off, and that's all we know you from. You got your $15,000 for that role, and that's it. Calm down, your son's best friend. You said your son introduced you to psychedelics. What's next? And one thing I don't really like about this whole situation is that it's opened the door for people like this to make these type of very weird, like, manosphere red pill adjacent videos.
Guys, Jada Pinkett is old. Right? She's really old. She's 52 years old. Jada does not have the same advantage that Will Smith has. Will Smith can attract an 18-year-old easily, not just for but for marriage as well.
Like, dude, if you were out here pushing 50 plus and you're still looking for an 18-year-old, like not even 21, like I'm talking about she just had 4th period algebra last year, and now you want her to be your wife, I mean, there might be something a little bit wrong with you.
Girls would be lining up for Will Smith. No one is lining up for Jada.
I mean, let's be honest, guys, there would be a very long line of young men willing to date and be married to Jada. Like, at the end of the day, she still has more money than, like, 99% of people on this planet. To a lot of people, I'm sure she still looks pretty good. And I'm not even trying to glaze her like that, but this type of guy in his little baby Gap hat should be banned from using podcast equipment forever, okay? Lock it up. Like, before you go out to Best Buy and buy a microphone, they should give you an IQ test. Like, I promise you guys, this man right here thinks of himself as a quote-unquote high-value man, when he's really just out here looking like Diet DJ Academics. And can we let the true GOAT in this situation flex one time? When it came to Will's memoir that he released last year, he sold over 1 million copies. Like, it's time for people to start putting respect on this man's name once again. He's been dragged through the mud like no other over the last couple of years. Look, all I'm saying is put some respect on my GOAT's name. This man has 23,000 ratings, 4.8 stars out of 5, while Jada's numbers aren't looking quite as good. Either way, this was just kind of a quick update for you guys. Y'all let me know down below in the comments, based on all this information, was the book a flop? As always, I do want to thank you guys for watching today's video, dropping a like and subscribing. But as you guys know, it's been your boy the Tan Superman, and some other memoirs out here need to be covered, so I'm out. Peace!